I'm going to talk about the Power Platform CLI MCP server. And what's really cool about this is that normally when we talk about Power Platform CLI, it's more of a technical kind of thing. You need to understand all the commands that are part of that command line interface. You need to know all the different parameters, etc., that kind of stuff. And the MCP server makes it possible for you to interact with that Power Platform CLI without having to know all the commands that are out there, all the parameters, etc. You can ask in natural language what you want, and the MCP server will help you with that. And that's really cool. So a little bit of an introduction of me. My name is Daniel Laskewitz. I'm a principal cloud advocate at Microsoft, and I work mostly on Copilot Studio and the Power Platform. And that's why I'm also talking about this subject. So let me quickly go to the next one. I'll talk a little bit about the Power Platform CLI. The Power Platform CLI, it's a command line interface. You can install it on your machine, and then you can run a whole bunch of commands. It's aimed at developers and advanced makers because it does a whole bunch of things that are related to developer kind of experiences, but there are also advanced makers that are totally happy to have them also in the Power Platform CLI, because there's a bunch of commands that are about administration, about governance, those kinds of things. So that's also in there. You can connect to your Power Platform environments. You can easily connect with authentication profiles, and you can see the authentication profiles like tenants, different tenants that you have. So when you are, for instance, a consultant, you might have multiple tenants from different customers that you have. Or when you work for one customer, you might have a test tenant around or something. Authentication profiles really help you to connect to all those different tenants that you have, or maybe different users that you have. And when you are connected to those authentication profiles, you can also connect to all the environments that the user has access to. So you can easily switch between different environments. So when you have a dev environment, you have a test environment, you have a production environment, you can easily switch between all those different environments. And what's really cool is that you have a whole lot of commands already available, which help you to develop on the Power Platform or to help manage it as an admin, for instance. So here we go. How do you use it? So when you have installed the Power Platform CLI, you get a whole bunch of commands available. And the commands are usually a couple of things. So you have pack, which is the first part of the command. And that's because it was used to be the Power Apps CLI, and now it's the Power Platform CLI. So that's why it's PAC. After that, you have a noun. So that can be a command group. That could be solution, for instance. If you want to use solutions inside of the Power Platform, you can use pack solution. And then you have a verb. And the verb is, for instance, export or import or something else that you can have there. So that's really cool as well. Next, you have a whole bunch of command groups available. You have pack admin, which helps you work as an admin with the Power Platform. You have pack application, which can help you install a whole bunch of applications from app source if you want to. An example of that is, for instance, the PowerCat tools that are out there, or the Center of Excellence Starter Kit is also something you can install through that as well. Pack off is about the all the different Power Platform authentication profiles that you can have. You can work with Canvas apps. You can work with a whole bunch of things like connections, connectors. You can work with Copilot Studio. There's a whole bunch of things available there. One command that I also want to highlight here is the help command, because normally when you are working with the Power Platform CLI directly, so not through the MCP server, but through the terminal, you sometimes want to know what kind of commands you have and what kind of parameters you want to have for a certain command. That's where the help command comes in. So whenever you don't remember what commands are between pack admin, for instance, you can do pack admin help, and then you can see all the different commands that are available there. If you want to know, for instance, pack admin create is a command to create an environment. If you want to know all the parameters there, you can use pacadmin create help, and then it will help you to also understand all the different parts in there. There's also a whole bunch of other command groups that you have available here. So Power Pages, you can work with that. You can work with pipelines inside of the Power Platform, solutions, etc. There's a whole bunch of things that you have available. But this was all more about the command line interface itself. So you need to install the CLI, and then you can run those commands in the command line. But a couple of months back, it's already half a year now, but they introduced the Power Platform CLI MCP, and that's an MCP server that runs locally. And what that means is that you can run that MCP server locally on your machine, and then you can run all the commands that you normally run with the terminal, which you normally run with the command line interface. You can then use natural language to run all those commands that you have there. It's not a 100% the same commands, because the Power Platform CLI MCP needs to also enable those CLI commands, but there are a whole bunch available in there already, which really makes it easy for you to add the MCP server to, for instance, GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio Code, for instance, or you can add it to Cloud Desktop if you want to. There's tons of different things available. But it really makes it easier for you to work with the CLI, because you don't have to remember all those different commands, all those parameters, etc. And that's really cool about this. So let's just go into the demo, because I like showing off instead of talking about it all the time. So let's go to the demo. And here we are. I already have Visual Studio Code open here. What I already did here is oh, there we go. Why is it not opening? There we go. So when I open my command panel, I can actually go look for MCP servers. What I can do here is I can add an MCP server. I'll share all the documentation later so that you know how you can add that MCP server. But here we are going to go to list servers. When I click on that, I can see I have the pack MCP server that I have here. It's already running. I can go to the show configuration. And this is basically the part that I added to my MCP server configuration. That's all documented, so no worries about that. I'll share the links later. But I added this to my MCP.json file, and that makes it possible to have this in GitHub Copilot now. So if I open up GitHub Copilot here, I can now start describing what I want. I can configure the tools here. Those are the MCP tools that I have. What I can do now is I can click on configure. And now you can see all the tools that I have available. I have a bunch already available that are built in, but the most important part is the pack MCP part, because that's the MCP server for the Power Platform CLI that I added. And as you can see here, you can see the tool in here and the description of the tool. There are tons of different things already available. So we can already work with authentication profiles, for instance, here. We can work with admin commands. So what I can do here is I can create an environment. I can assign users, assign groups. There's a whole bunch of things that are available here. But let me just show you how it works when you are chatting with GitHub Copilot. So let me add a prompt here. Oh, hold on. Let me do the first one. Which authentication profile is currently active? And when I send this, GitHub Copilot is going to look at what is available here. And it automatically recognizes that there is an auth.who tool that's part of the MCP server here. And this is also really important because it asked me if I allow this to run. You have a whole bunch of options here. You can allow this in this workspace, always allow, etc. I like to leave it as is because I always want the MCP server to kind of ask me if it runs or not, because I can always check what the inputs are, outputs are, etc. Of those different tools. And sometimes when you want to, for instance, change something in the Power Platform CLI, you want to know what's being sent to the MCP server before it gets executed, especially when you want to do some more advanced things in there. But in this case, it's pretty normal to run this command. So I'm going to click allow, and it's going to run this command. And it can already say, I have a currently active authentication profile with my email address. It's already connected to the default environment that we have, but I want to change that. So I'm going to switch to a different environment. I'm going to ask to switch to the Power Platform community environment. And when I hit send here, it's going to ask for environment list, which is listing all the environments from the authentication profile I'm connected to now. So it's going to list all the environments. If I click on that, I can actually scroll down and I can see a whole bunch of environments in here that we have in our environment. So you can also see the outputs of those different tools in there. Now it's going to do environment select to select the right environment, and it also has added the Power Platform community part in there. So when I hit allow, it's going to run that, and now it's switched to the Power Platform community environment. So if I ask now what authentication profile is currently active, it can run that again, and as the output, it will say now that it has the Power Platform community environment in there. So far, this is really simple. It's just about changing the environment, but I want to do something more advanced as well. So let's list all the tenant settings. So when I hit send here, it's gonna run the admin list tenant settings command here. And when I hit allow, it's gonna run that command. And when I open it up, it's first gonna output it as well. So let me scroll up a little bit to show you the output. There we go. So you can see the output of all the environments, and oh, we were also there. And here you can see all the different outputs of the CLI, where you have all the key value pairs of those settings. But it makes it really nicely formatted now. It shows basic settings, Power Platform settings for governance, for help and support. The LLM really does its work already, and it helps us understand a little bit more about those different settings that you have here. It at least gives him the category, for instance, and normally it doesn't do that for you. But now I want to do something even more advanced, because I want to not just list it, I want to combine the output of those tenant settings to actually look at a governance improvement plan. So I want to make sure that all the settings that I have, maybe they aren't the right settings for my organization. So I'm going to ask about a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to ask if the LLM can check the tenant configuration against the recommended best practices, and a whole bunch of other things I'm going to ask about as well. I'm going to send this because this is going to run for a little while to show all the stuff here. And what's really cool about this is that it basically shows me a whole plan on what I need to change in my environment, and what is more of a high priority, what's less of a priority. It shows me a whole kinds of phases that we have. So some things need to be done immediately, for instance. Some things need to be done in a couple of months. Those kinds of things I have all in here as the output of the prompt that I just gave. And if we scroll up a little bit, you can see how much is in here. It's basically showing that there are a bunch of gaps that we haven't configured, for instance. So we haven't configured the maker onboarding on this tenant. We haven't done anything with the Microsoft 365 features in there. We have to do a whole bunch of things on tenant capacity reports, etc. It basically shows me a whole bunch of things where I haven't done it correctly here. And that's pretty cool to see easily you can get this out of there. Of course, it's based on an LLM knowledge currently. So if you are doing this for a real customer, for your own company, it's kind of good to have like a baseline of tenant settings that you want to have before you apply it. So don't really look at these kinds of outputs and then think everything is true, because it's artificial intelligence and it's based on knowledge that could also be a little bit dated. So make sure that you really look well at all those recommendations. But you can, it's basically a thing that can help you already for 80% there, instead of having to think of everything yourself. So it really helps you a lot there. So now we did something for tenant settings, but I might want to do something with the environment itself. So I asked about tenant settings, which are over the whole tenant, but I might also want to have like the environment settings that are for only one environment. I want to also have some tips around that. That's something that you can also ask about. And that's another command that you have in there. So it has the environment list settings, for instance, that you can do. You can allow that as well. Oh, hold on, it's doing the wrong one. And here we go. It's running environment list settings. And it has all the environment settings. It's going to go through the whole best practices analysis for the environment. And that's the Power Platform community environment that I just changed to. And it's doing the same thing for those different settings. And it will give you a whole output in there as well that you can see there. And it's also asking if I want to update any of these settings. So that's also why I said earlier, you want to have that allow button still there. You don't want to allow it for all the time, basically, because if you have that allow button there, you can review the inputs that that it wants to give for those settings, and then you are really sure that it's gonna execute that update, for instance. So that was the demo part. So let me go back to the slides to wrap it up. So I have a bunch of resources here. I have aka.ms/pack, which is the documentation for the Power Platform CLI. I also included a link to the Power Platform CLI MCP GitHub discussion that Andrew, the engineering manager, put out there when he released the Power Platform CLI. But let me also go to the documentation for a bit, because I want to show you some interesting stuff as well. So when you go to that first link, aka.ms/pack, it will land you here in the Power Platform CLI documentation. There are a couple of new pages that are really cool. One is the use Power Platform CLI without installing it. There is a new .NET command that you can use, DNX. And when you run this, you don't have to install the Power Platform CLI, but it still can interact with your Power Platform environments. And it basically shows in this article how you can do that. So you can use the DNX command. And this is really interesting because sometimes you have an environment that doesn't allow you to install software. And with this command, you can still use those tools, the Power Platform CLI, in the way I just showed you, basically. So you can run that as well. Another one that I want to show you is the use built-in MCP server part. This is basically the whole thing where it shows you how you can install it, how you can register the server, etc. There's a whole bunch of information here available as well. So those are the ones that I wanted to highlight as well.